This film was set in 1957, and it begins with a distressed priest sneaking into a church with a newborn baby during an eclipse. The priest places the crying baby on the altar, revealing a peculiar mark on the left side of the baby's chest. He begins to pray, and once he is done, he lifts up a dagger with both hands to stab the baby. The priest is stopped by some militia, who ends up killing him as he refuses to spare the baby. It is now 30 years after the incident in the church. Father Marek, a priest and exorcist who appears to be working undercover, onboards a bus on a very mysterious-looking highway. He then takes out a map and smokes a cigarette before heading toward his destination. When he arrives at the church, he is welcomed by a monk named Prior Andrzej. While he is shown around, Marek keenly observes the environment. Prior Andrzej informs him that the church also serves as a sanatorium where people who have been possessed by the devil are brought for healing. Still on tour, Marek is introduced to Brother Doid. Doid offers a rosary bead to Marek, but he insists on using his old one. Marek's luggage is searched, and his cigarettes are confiscated. The prior then took Marek to his room and assured him that he would be comfortable during his stay, even without technology or electricity. Marek is the baby from the previous incident, as his mark is revealed while he changes his clothes. He also reveals a compartment in his suitcase where he was able to hide a gun, flashlight, and some other items that are not permitted within the premises. He settles down, then brings out a newspaper article about a missing woman he is probably searching for. At that moment, the church bell rings, and it is a cue for all monks to gather in the dining hall. After the prayer, everyone begins to eat dinner. Marek wonders what is in the bowl, as the food has a weird odor and taste. He has no choice but to eat because the other monks seem to be eating the meal without any problems. Once he leaves the dining area, he continues to tour the sanatorium. He encounters quite a number of chambers that hold different people who are believed to be possessed. In one of the chambers, he finds a woman and a priest inside. Now in his room, he takes a shower but doesn't realize that the crucifix on the wall rumbled. The next day, Marek is allowed to witness an exorcism organized by the prior. Marek enters the fully candle-lit room with the rest of the monks. He is surprised to see the woman he had seen in the chamber the night before strapped to the bed. Before the exorcism begins, Father Andrzej, who is the vice prior, sets up the camera to record the activity. Marek silently witnesses everything. The prior sprinkles holy water on the woman and begins to pray in Latin. The prayer gets more intense, and the woman, who was already wailing and shaking the bed fiercely, now sits up in a wild manner and snarls at the prior. This makes the crucifix catch fire. The exorcism takes a toll on Marek, and by the time it is over, he rushes to his room. When he stares at himself while touching the mirror, he cracks up. To add to his surprise, the door to his wardrobe opens up. He leaves his room and begins walking around the building, leading him to a mysterious door. Just as he touches the door, Doid comes up to him and tells him he can only gain access to the room if he is invited in. It is now dinner time again, but Marek cannot bring himself to digest the weird food, so he rushes to his room, where he immediately throws up everything. He also feels an ache in his jaw, and this makes him pull out a tooth, but then the tooth opens up and a fly comes out of it. Now determined to find answers, he waits until everyone is asleep and then returns to the mysterious door. He uses the small pointed metal hidden inside the cross of his rosary to pick the lock. He sees that this is Prior's office, so he looks around for answers. Here, he discovers a lot of things. He finds a secret room where all the exorcism tapes are kept. There is also a mechanism that controls the bed movement and the crucifix with a lighter hidden behind it. He pieces it all together and realizes that the exorcisms are staged. Marek is now scared that he is not safe here. The next day, he is told by the prior to lead the penitential act, a task he is unable to do. So Father Andrzej is asked to take over. They are now suspicious of Marek and become more so when he loudly gags during the meal shortly after. Marek rushes to his room, hides his gun in his garment, and then burns the newspaper article. Later, when he sees some monks burying a casket in the yard, he rushes to the woman's chamber, but doesn't find her there. Father Pietr appears behind him and takes him to the confessional to calm him down. Pietr warns Marek that the others are on to him. Marek then trusts Pietr and reveals that he's an officer in the citizens' militia. He also tells Pietr the truth about his mission to find traces of all the missing women. Marek returns to his room and finds a strange bone attached to an eyeball in the wall. Irritated, he gags and releases a dark liquid all over the floor. Suddenly flies emerge from the vomit. He is determined to find evidence. So late at night, he goes to dig up the grave but finds an empty casket. Doid and some other monks find him and cover his face. He wakes up to find himself tied to the bed in his room. His cover is blown as they have found his gun and other items. He is then forced to eat 4 sets of strange meat. Later in the night, he is able to escape and shoots Doid dead in the process. He runs to the kitchen, where he discovers that the meals are made from different parts of the missing women. He runs into Pietr, who he trusts, and follows him to an old library. Here, Pietr tells Marek the truth about him being the chosen one. He tells Marek that he was born during an eclipse, and that since he wasn't killed at birth, he is destined to destroy the world. He even shows him the mark of the chosen one, which is the same as the one on his chest. He explains that the other monks actually worship the devil and want to summon him. To do so, they will have to make Marek consume 7 sinners and drink the blood of an innocent. Seeing that he has not yet drank the blood, Marek is in a hurry to escape before the monks can get the chance to complete the ritual. But as it turns out, it was all a trap as Pietr leads him to his capture. Marek is then tied to a wooden pillar, and the prior comes clean about everything and how he had sent the anonymous tip that led the militia to suspect the sanatorium in the first place. They bring in the woman, slashing her throat and collecting the gushing blood. They all pass it around and drink before shoving the rest down Marek's throat. They recite the necessary chants to complete the ritual, but nothing happens. The monks are upset at each other as something must have gone wrong. They know the militia might come looking for Marek, so Pietr stabs him and throws him into a deep well that the monks believe is a gateway to hell. To take charge of the sanatorium, Pietr kills the prior. The next day, he reveals to the others that the prior has died and pretends to be deeply hurt by the loss to throw off suspicion. Meanwhile, Marek wakes up at the bottom of the well. The ritual must have worked because he feels different. His body shakes violently, like he is transforming into something. Back in the sanatorium, Pietr, who was leading a prayer for Prior's soul, suddenly loses control of his body and rises into the air. He screams in agony as his body gradually dissipates into a swarm of flies. The demon known as the sabbatical goat now emerges from behind the altar. The other monks attempt to run, but similarly, their bodies freeze and are lifted into the air in an upside-down manner that imitates the inverted cross. The demon releases his power, which makes the dead flowers outside come alive, an indication that evil has been awakened and that the new world order has begun. Do like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss any upcoming videos.